Hello, this is Molly with Molly Q Creates and scrapandtime.com. Today I'm going to show you how to create this God Bless America patriotic layout, perfect for 4th of July, Memorial Day, or any time you have your patriotic colors showing. All right, to get started, this is a free pattern that is available at Molly Q Creates. It is in the resource library. So to get to it, you go to the resource library in the top menu bar. The library is password protected, so you enter in your password. If you do not have a password, fill out that form and it will be emailed to you. Is God Bless America Scrapbook Layout 5A. Click on it and it will automatically download to your computer. This is a zipped compressed file. It has multiple file formats in there, including SVG, DXF, EPS, PNG, JPEG, and PDF. So you can use it with a variety of cutting machines and in a variety of different formats. If you're not familiar with how to download and save a compressed zip file to your computer and how to upload it into Design Space, please watch the video, Summer Vibes, How to Upload Zip Files to Cricut Design Space. It walks you step by step through the process. It is not a hard process, but this video walks you step by step through the process. I'll link the video to below. So now let's get started in Design Space. I'll open up a new canvas. I'll go to Upload. Now I've already uploaded this file multiple times, as you can see. The most recent one is the farthest one to the left. So I'm going to click on it and Insert Image. So when this file comes in, it is grouped together. You can see by it has a gray bounding box around it. This file is set to cut a 12 by 12 layout. So it's perfectly sized for that. You have two mats that work for 4 by 6 photos. You have a small, this will be a thin white mat against the blue mat. The thin white mat makes the colors really pop. If you don't have the right shades of blue, that it's going to contrast with the blue mat that you use. Or if you have colors that that kind of contrast with the layout, putting a thin white, beige, or black border helps separate the photo from the layout, but blends everything together. I'm just going to show you a couple other things about this file. So I'm going to ungroup it. So now I'm going to ungroup these. Most of the elements are grouped together. So if you wanted more stars, you could just click on the star, duplicate it. Same thing with these bigger stars. So now with these rockets, you can click on it, ungroup it. I wanted to show you that there's a separate white rocket that you cut out so that you can just place that right behind. Then you don't have to worry about getting the stars evenly placed in there, and you don't even have to use all of the stars. And as a bonus for cutting out the blue, you will automatically get 3 blue stars. Same thing for the red. There's a white one, so you don't have to worry about placing these lines. All right, so now we can get started with cutting it. So let's go to Make It. Now, just a few tips about these files is that you can condense these designs onto one mat. Design Space does a good job of separating the designs into mats, but it's not always the most efficient. So you can take these, you can use for these the rotate tool in the corner to straighten these up. Then you can move items around on the mat. Just because Design Space puts them in a specific place does not mean you need to keep them on that place. Now, the other really nice thing is that you can go to this mat, and now you see how you're using 2 pieces of white. You can click those 3 dots, say Move Object. It's going to show all your mats, and you can even create a new mat. So let's go to the first white mat, confirm, and now your design is going to show up at the top corner. So all you have to do is move it down here, and now you have space and you saved a piece of paper. Let's look at each of the mats. So orange, you just need a little piece of scrap for the orange. Same thing for the yellow. But now for the blue, we're running into 2 mats again. So let's straighten these up. So we will save some space. Then we can Move that one up there. Now we have 3 stars here that we can do this again, the 3 dots, click on it, move object, and then select the blue mat. And you can place it on your mat. And I actually found that if you flip these 2 around and put America in between, you get a little bit more space on the mat. So now let's go to this one, same thing. Click on the 3 dots, move object, select your blue mat, confirm, and then place it. And for the last star, click on the 3 dots, move object, select the mat you want to move it to, select confirm, and then place it on the mat. So as long as nothing is touching or overlapping, you'll be fine with the way Cricut cuts it. It also has to stay within this red box. And you can see that you cannot place an item outside of the box. And then just a quick check on the red, and the red is fine. We could actually move this up here and save a little bit more paper. So let's go back up to the white mat. And now even though this white mat and this blue mat still show, those mats will not cut. There's nothing left on them. They will not, so they were not cut. They will not show up in the flow of the mats cutting. All right, so now you can turn the Cricut on and start cutting out the pieces, and I'll be back to show you how to assemble them all. All right, so now that everything is cut out, now we can start assembling the layout. So as I cut it out and take pieces off the mat, I like to stack them so I know that I have all of the pieces and where they belong. Just a couple notes about the cutting. For the stars, the 3 red stars that go in the rocket are the smallest stars. They're 3 in a row, and they will be the smallest ones. They're very similar to this one. However, this won't really fit in the rocket, the star shape on the rocket. So you can see that there is a difference, that one is smaller than the other. And that when you put it on the rocket, there will be a white outline, a very thin one. Also, if you don't get a good cut, so make sure you remove all the center pieces. But if you don't get a good cut, 2 of my tips for fixing that is to use a piece of sandpaper, and you can just kind of go over the area that didn't cut well. If you get like some of those fuzzies on there, you can just kind of sand it off. The other thing is when I'm cutting, especially when you have words that are thinner, like the God bless, to put the pressure instead of default to more. And that you have to do that while you're cutting, or like just before you start cutting that mat. That also helps to give you a better cut. Okay, so let's start assembling. I'm going to start with the biggest piece first. So the God bless, I'll start with the top and then move down. And I'm using the Hero Arts Precision Glue. So liquid glue, you do not need much. So when you start with each letter, you just want to lightly cover it. Like I say, you don't need a gob on there. And then where it's really thin, that you just want a very light coating. The glue will dry clear, but it's just best to avoid having big goops of it. The nice thing about the liquid glue is it does give you a little bit of play. So when you press it down, smooth out the glue and you can move it into place. Okay, so now that America is on, and just kind of scrape away any of the extra little glue pieces. So now with the God bless, it does overlap on the blue of America. So you do want to make sure that the America gets put down first. And for the God Bless, since it is so small or thin, just make a very light coating. Just barely touching it. And then again, the Bless is in 2 pieces. And again, that is going to overlap. The BL is going to overlap the Blue of America. And again, just a very thin coating of glue. Make sure you get the ends. Any extra glue you can just wipe off with your finger. Okay, now for that, get that down. Okay, so now let's glue the God Bless America and the white shadow onto the blue shadow. All right, so the title is done. Now let's move on to the rockets. And one tool that comes in handy is just a paintbrush. So it helps to just kind of scrape some of this off if you get like some little extra, the glue dust, you know, just some extra pieces. It just helps to brush them away. So let's slide that up there. And now let's work on the rockets. Let's start on the blue one. So take the orange flame, a little bit of glue, line it with the straight edge of the yellow, and then just kind of center it. Then take the blue, again, just outline it with glue. And now these are the same size. Smush it together and just kind of squeeze it together at the sides and make sure that the top is aligned. So now you can take your flames, just do a little strip and attach it to the back of the rocket. Okay, so now we have the red stars. Okay, and now for the other rocket. You can see here, there's a little red piece. So I'm just going to take the piece of sandpaper, get in there a little bit to get that cleared out. Okay, so then, again, just glue around the edges. Make sure you get the side. And then you take your white piece, line them up, make sure the sides are good, press it down, and then you can see how I still have that little, a little red piece in there. So I'm just going to take the X-Acto knife And I'm not really cutting it out. I'm just more or less pushing it against the side to get it cleaned up. Then for the flame, same thing. Put the glue on the orange. Align it with the straight edge of the yellow. And then center it. Then do a small strip. And attach it to the back side of the rocket. Okay, so now for the stars. These just layer on top of each other. All right, so now all of the embellishments are prepped. If you get a little extra glue, and just wipe it off with your fingers, it kind of crumbles as it dries, the excess. Okay, so now we're down to the photo mats. So up till now, I've been using the precision glue. However, for photo mats and for larger pieces, I use a tape runner. If you put too much liquid adhesive on a larger area, it could start to warp the paper, and I don't like using liquids directly on items that come in contact with the photos. So just so nothing would seep through and potentially ruin the photo, I just play it safe and use the tape runner. All right, so now we need to pick out the background paper. And for this, let's slide this kind of out of the way. I use the Birch white grid. It's a Simple Stories. It's in their Color Vibe line. I liked how the worn look of the wood contrasts with the cardstock. The cardstock pops, and it's nice and plain, and pick some, just some solid red and blue and white. And then to have this textured wood behind it. Now for these stars that go on top, depending upon your photos, you can put them behind or you can put it on top. However, if you don't have your photos right away to put on here, I would not put adhesive on the parts that are going over the photo mat, so you can slide your photo under it. So I would not put adhesive here. I would just stick to these top area. So let's get everything positioned before we start gluing down. Then I have these three. And now if you have a grid, a mat that has a grid, you can use that for aligning. So I'm going to align the layout using a couple of the grid marks and then center. And I'm just going to gently fold it. I have an idea of like the middle is going to be like right in here, about probably over the R. So yeah, right in here is where the center is. So again, I'm just going to use tape runner on this just because it's getting to be a larger piece. Okay, so then align my center. Then I go to the next largest pieces, which are going to be the photo mats. So slide everything else just kind of out of the way. And get the other one down. I'm going to overlap them, but they're not going to be perfectly aligned at the bottom. I want one just be offset just slightly more. Then for the rockets, again, since this part is going to be overlapping, I just want it more in the center and to that side. So I will, when I'm doing that, I like to just kind of put my fingers there as a reminder not to put adhesive there. So that coming off like that. Same thing for the red one. I don't want it on this side. So I'm just going to keep my fingers over there. So now I'll still be able to slide photos. And then to finish it off with the 3 stars on top. And again, I don't want adhesive down on the bottom part. That to be almost touching the top of the page. And the other 2. So again, if this is going to be that. Go up a little bit more. Just make sure that the adhesive isn't going over the edge. And the last star. And then we just have these 3 stars at the bottom, and those I will use the liquid glue for. Again, I start out with the bigger one because it's easier to position the smaller ones. And now for the last 3. And there is a design principle of thirds where you take a picture and kind of divide it into thirds, both horizontally and vertically. And you don't put the subject in the center, you put them on where the third lines cross. There's also a design principle where you use 3s. And so there you have the 3 stars across the top, the 3 stars bundled up here. And so when I'm doing little fill-in embellishments, I usually try to do them in groups of 3s. It just makes it look a little bit more interesting and balanced. Brush off the rest of that glue. And there you have it. God Bless America. Perfect for your 4th of July and your Memorial Day and any other patriotic pictures you have. Put on some distressed wood to give it some contrast. Again, you can use any background paper. This was a free cut file found on the mollyqcreates.com website in the resource library. I will link to sign up for you do need to sign up for the email list, and the password to the resource library will be emailed to you. There is a link at the bottom. Again, you can always unsubscribe at any time with one click if you're not happy with the newsletter. But the newsletter is filled with updates, and it comes once a week, filled with updates of everything that's new on the blog and the new free files that have been added to the resource library. So I hope you have enjoyed this,